Hey everyone, the Good Captain here, and welcome to my Axis and Allies 1914 game against a live human opponent. Out-of-box rules, out-of-box setup, no bid. And this is the Ottomans turn 3. But before we get into this, let's review the French turn. The French purchased 7 infantry, an arty, and a fighter, all spent. And they let's see, they moved. Oh yeah, let's just go through them one at a time. They sent the blocker clearance group into the Alsace. Their army moved from Togoland to Nigeria. And then they load up. Or how's he doing this? Oh, it looks like he's splitting the forces up. Yeah, this I remember. And then he ends up splitting his army to knock out Nigeria and capture Angola. Battleship and transport come up to Portugal. Fighter moves to Lorraine. Consolidation in Lorraine. Push from Paris to Burgundy. Okay. Alright, and then the combat. In Alsace. Oh, that's up here. 2 infant and arty. 1 inf on the way back. Yeah, he's dead, and we missed. So they take the Alsace without loss. And in Nigeria, they attacked, we defend. This time they hit, but we also scored a hit. So nothing surprising or shocking here in any of these moves or the results. Placed units, turn complete. The British. British by 8 aircraft, or 8 infantry and aircraft and an artillery. And then let's see, this is the first time I'm looking at this. So he moves 2 infantry to a battleship. He moves the fleet out, looks like. Lands in Brest. Okay, yeah, he looks like he was undecided. Okay, he landed a small army in Brest. Consolidated his fleet down here in Wales. Sea Zone 8, I should say, and then moves into the Lorraine to reinforce. Yes, and then he pushed his, this is where the stuff I care more about. He pushed his army into Persia. He had the option of just sending a single infantry in there, but he pushed his whole army. This doesn't really change what we're going to do, but I was curious to see what he would do. Yeah, and then I've seen this move pretty common, slinging infantry, basically moving through. You don't have to go through Persia, you can just use the transport as a land bridge for 2 infantry every turn. Oh, and I see, he hucked one up at Sevastopol. Brings up the rest of his armies. This is an interesting move. So, down here in Africa, he sends 1 infantry into Portuguese East Africa, and then consolidates in Rhodesia. Yeah. No battling. And then where does he place his units? All in India, which yeah, I think that's probably correct. Collects 37. So down here in Africa, let's get this show the current game. I already know what Germany's next move is going to be. It's to move to Portuguese East Africa. Where I am now is such a massive dead zone that it would guarantee the destruction of this small army, and going down in a blaze of glory, not my thing really. This would force him to we're in the present situation, the whole French army could hit me and smash me. These 4 could directly attack, and these 2 could be sea lifted into the situation. At least at Portuguese East Africa, he can only sea lift in 4 of the 6 French pieces. And if I destroy it, I destroy that British infantry, there's a 50% chance I have a force that's intact. So if we're going to go down fighting, it'll be here in Portuguese East Africa, where we can shrug off at least 2 of these pieces down here for another turn. Okay, Next, and that's to say nothing of him having to touch up these territories. If he wants me to not claim IPCs, he's going to have to use, right, one of the, oh, okay, never mind. It would actually be efficient, but the French units that couldn't be sea lifted would touch up these territories. So, that's a good job. I'll say good job to you, sir, for that. That's seems good, but I'll still go up and probably pop that British infantry. Okay, here this is pretty obvious, so this should be pretty quick. Done. So we're hooked up to the DICE server. We're gonna pick up another plane and artillery and 3 infantry. And spent. That's all spent. And I'm not a big fan of spending everything, but in this, the Ottomans benefit from artillery especially because all but the Syrian desert are coastal regions, so their artillery is as defensive as it is offensive, at least in terms of amphibious assaults, right? So I think there is almost always a good argument to buy artillery as the Ottomans. So long as there's transports nearby, and when we look around, there's only one Italian transport in range other than the one that the British start with over here. But you know, I like the way this is going to shake out. I kind of like the attack value as well. One more aircraft just solidifies our control of the air. It prevents his artilleries from being boosted both on attack and defense, and instead boosts our artilleries on attack and defense. So for now, that's the way I'm gonna run it. Now, this to me is just given this setup is extremely obvious. I'm going to put a blocker in Transjordan right here, and that's because there's no transports in range. Only the Italians can knock Transjordan unless the British come around here. They could too, but we have Italians here, and since there's an infantry push, they could essentially sling this infantry forward without having to bring new troops in, and still maintain the rule of having at least one infantry with anything that's not an infantry, so this artillery could just stay there. So I want to confound his ability to take that with a single infantry and give him a problem to solve. So yeah, I think it's worth occupying Transjordan. It's a long way to say that. So everything else is pretty automatic. We're going to commit all of our assets except for... Actually, yeah, I'll just commit all my assets down here, and then we'll pop a blocker here, and then all of these will come here. Now, there's no way he could attack Ankara, but with 12-2 defenders, with the boosted artillery by the fighter, I mean, this is he's going to lose at least half, or I'm sorry, he's going to lose, possibly lose his whole army. So he's not coming to Ankara with the Brits. And with 15 infantry, 5 artillery, supported by an air unit, I think this is like a 95+% chance of wiping everything out in a single round of combat, which is the idea. We want to free up this Turkish army to fight on the next turn. Oh, look at that! It's 100%. So that means it's 99.5% or better. Oh, it's actually not a whole. Okay, so it's 99.4%. Or under. Yeah, but there's really no way to make it better. So yeah, and then this is something I do in Axis and Allies Classic when I'm playing as the Axis, and this is something I don't, at least in that game when I play people, it seems like the old folks who used to play that didn't quite understand. But when you have a triplicate of territories like this, you can actually hopscotch your army. So you have this strong one in the north, a blocker in the center, and a strong one in the south. You can also invert it and just put everything in the Syrian desert and have weak north and south shoulders, and it's very confounding. So in Classic, you have Eastern Europe, Ukraine SSR, and the Caucasus with Karelia on top. This is sort of the same situation rotated sideways. So you have Mesopotamia as Karelia, basically, and the rest of these 3 territories line up. So this is a familiar position to work in terms of board geography. And enough chit chat, let's get on with the shoot 'em up. Got them all, and yeah, I should have said we were going to lose at least two, and you know there's a 50-50 on losing a third piece. So we got out on the right side of that, and luckily there was no high roll for him, no 4 or 5 hits. And now we're in a very good position to take back Mesopotamia. So there's no way he's hitting Arabia because these artilleries get offshore shots. So that's why there's so many artilleries down here as opposed to Ankara. Ankara's not worried about amphibious invasion, so we have all the artilleries down here. Arabia's not going anywhere, no matter where he pushes. Even if the Italians come to Transjordan. Oh my God, I forgot Smyrna. Oh, that was a blunder. Okay. Whoops. So Ankara should have had 9-2, not 10-2. Apologies. I'll blame this on the tournament I was at all weekend, just burning my brain on Axis and Allies. So, oh man, that's a blunder. That's a blunder. Okay, we'll eat it. So let's see, worst case scenario. Who's next? Italians. Yeah. So the Italians could naval lift in infantry in here, and take 2 IPCs, which we would of course have to counterattack. But they might not. Anyway, so let's go back to this because this is more interesting. Mesopotamia, 6 infantry, 2 artillery. With 6 infantry, 2 artillery behind it in Persia is 12 infantry, 4 artillery. And then there's also a fighter that they have back here that they can bring in. And of course, they can sea lift in 2 more units. So they're looking at best, this army. Now, with 3 Ottoman fighters, they're going to lose air support. It's something like 92% or better. I can't remember. But I'll say that I have at least 1 fighter in this fight, and after the air battle's resolved, I should say. And we have 7 artilleries, and 10, 11, plus 13, 24. Yeah, this is going to be... Yeah, so he's going to... He'd be a fool to stack up his pieces here because it's plus 5 infantry in my favor. In other words, I will take 5 more infantry off the map than he does in the return fire, even after he stacks up his army. Oh, there's one up in Sevastopol. We should add that in too and say he has 15. But it'll still be around 15, 14.7. Okay, almost 5 whole infantry. So still a bad move in my opinion. And so I expect him to pull back and just leave a single infantry here, at which time we will, of course, move in and occupy this in force, and then try to hold it against the British and just go head up against their capital here in Bombay. Anyway, I've talked way too much again, so I don't think I have anything else to say. Thanks for watching this. All the best from the good captain, and bye-bye.